Welcome to Freddie Run's Runners Connect podcast, where Freddie and Scott explore the world of running, fitness, and beyond. But before we dive into today's episode, a quick disclaimer. Whilst we love to share experiences and insights, we are not coaches nor nutritionists, so remember, nothing discussed here is intended as professional advice. Always consult with qualified experts for personalised guidance. Enjoy the podcast. Right, welcome back to the podcast, episode 9 of the Runners Connect podcast. And a little different this week because straight away we've jumped into having our guest on. So we've got Scott with me as ever and returning guest, Jamie. Jamie, welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
Very good, mate. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Jamie, we're really excited to have you back for a couple of reasons. Obviously, one, because it's you and we got on awesome with you last time. But really excited that me and Scott this weekend are going down to Leeds to do Endure 24. My second bash at it, Scott's first. Yep. So there's a lot of nerves flying around, a bit of trepidation, and a few things have happened that we'll get into shortly. But what's really exciting, and you've kind of give the game a little bit away with the t-shirt that you're currently wearing, but you've obviously just come back from doing Endure 24 in Reading. And look at that T-shirt. It says you completed over 100 miles.
Well done. Thank you.
Congratulations, mate. How was it? Come on, give us the full debrief. How did it go?
It was easy till it wasn't. If I'm being totally honest. It felt weird. I've never done a race anywhere like that. I'm so lucky that I had some people to run with. And I ran the entire thing with one in particular person. And it was so useful because I definitely would have gone too fast. Right. And without a shadow of a doubt. And that is something you don't want to do in that race. It was very strange. Yeah, I'll give you a bit of a rundown on what happened at the weekend, though. So just Please. Quickly, if you like. Yeah.
No, take your time. Take your time. Do not rush this. Let's hear the detail.
Yeah. Well, the weeks leading up, I became an obsessive mental maniac. Every single twinge I thought was the death of me. Like there was at one point, my ankle started really hurting, and I don't know why. Didn't hurt on a run. Got back from a run, would sit around for ages, and then it would just be like probably like a 7 or 8 on the pain scale. I'm like, what is this weird pain? Yeah, it was like super weird. There was nothing on it. It was fine. It's always been fine. And I'm like, what is this taper crazies obviously happening? I did have a big scare because I know Scott had a scare, but I had a really big scare I did a marathon like 3 weeks beforehand. Yeah. And on that week, I decided to, as you do on marathon week, do a massive, fast, like hard session. And I don't know, did something to my hamstring. And it was quite bad. I sort of limped home. Didn't really make a big song and a dance about it because I didn't really want to let anyone know. if I ignore it, it just goes away. And it was quite bad. And I ran the marathon and it hurt for about 10 miles and then sort of went away. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then it hurt the next day. And I was like, oh, I hope it's okay. And yeah, I just, kept training, just followed the training plan, as I am not a coach. Do not do anything I do. I'm an idiot. And I would just run as completely normal through the week on following my training plan to the letter. And it did get better. And obviously the taper came, because this is like, I'm on about a 2-week taper, which I'm sure you guys are roughly similar. Yeah. And the taper came, and it definitely helped it a lot. It eased it right off. And by race time, I was going through, shall I Katie tape it? Shall I not Katie tape it? Shall I tape it? Shall I not tape it? And I was like, through the week, I was taping it off, taping it off. It must have happened like 5 times. Probably went through a whole roll of tape. But I ended up taping it for the race, and I think it was purely placebo. But anyway, The Friday, camping day, very excited. And I live literally 2 miles from Wasing, and I used to cycle past it on the way to work. So I'm right next to Wasing Estate, which is where Endure 24 Reading's held. Lovely, beautiful place. The weather was, I couldn't have asked for better weather. It was sunny, but not that hot. It was just amazing. Brand new tent as well. So I've just driven down. Not looked at this tent. I definitely bought secondhand of Gumtree, but it is brand new. But you're just hoping for the best. So I rocked up to the campsite, and I'm like, "Where can I park?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "It's solo." It's like, "Oh yeah." So when you guys go in there, point you to the solo, and it's a bit scary because it's like right at the very front. Like you are like right in the event village essentially, and they did the same at Leeds. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, just solo." So I get there, and I'm making small talk to anyone that will talk to me. I was asking Sally, I was like, "How far do you want to go?" And she's like, "Oh, I'd like to do 100k." Nice lady did end up doing 100k, by the way. And I'm meeting up with her in a couple of weeks. Nice gentleman next to me. He's like, "I don't know," and I'll just see how it goes. I was like, "Awesome." Saw the running channel people from the big YouTube people. They were there. They were camped right next to me. So saw them quite a lot.
Cool.
Set up the tent. Luckily, all the bits were there. And then I was like, I'm just going to quickly go around the expo, just quickly do a loop round, look at the stalls, and do the thing, take the pictures and whatnot, you know. So I did the loop, got my kids to the little mile things. There's a little kids race on the Friday evening, and my kids are racing it. And then did the loop round, got my registration, which was really cool, and you get a really nice T-shirt. So you guys are lucky. The T-shirts are really, really good quality. They're by a brand called Prezio. So you do have that to look forward to. Certainly it's in black. Don't know why they did it in black, but it's a really nice
Last
T-shirt.
year's was black as well.
Was it? Yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, it's like another colour would be nice, but the quality is really, really good. This was meant to be Prezio, but apparently it's Adidas. Okay. Anyway, so I was doing the loop, looking at the ball with all the race teams and whatnot, and then I saw my mate and ended up talking to him for, no exaggeration, 3 hours. Just about life and general. It's been a while since I caught up, and then I met some more people, just chatting, standing around, walking. So I went home and then came back, like sat around, watched a bit of TV and tried to forget about racing, and then came back to do the kids race with the kids. Which was awesome, but I was like, right, are you boys okay to go around? Daddy's going to sit here on the chair so he doesn't have to get his legs too tired for the next day. And they're like, no, we want you to come with us. So I ended up doing the kids race as well with them, and they loved it and they had a great time. But it was a mile, and it was through the first part of the event. So I ended up doing that, and then we were hanging around and ended up getting some food there. The pizza place ran out of dough because that was it happened 3 times over the weekend. It only sells pizza. It ran out of dough 3 times. Quite upsetting. But yeah, grabbed some food, then went home. Got about 3 hours sleep. As you do, you know, that real nervous, excited feeling. I know I'd done the training, but there was a lot of pressure because I'm like, this is by far the furthest I'd ever run. By the furthest I'd run before this was a 55k.
Oh, big difference.
So this is massive, completely unknown territory. So because I've only really started properly racing ultras this year, proper ultra racing. Just hang around a bit. My friends turned up, it was really nice of them. So I got some friends to support. The wife and kids went home because I told them not to hang around because it's not that exciting with 2 very small children getting bored after 5 minutes. And then they call you over about 20 minutes before the race starts, like they normally would, and you line up, and then you sort of decide at this point. And what I would do is, first of all, don't forget your timing chip. Yeah, because you wouldn't want to go to the race now and forget your timing chip. Who would do that?
I know. Check out last year's video.
Yeah. Maybe tattoo that on your arm, mate. Don't forget your timing chip. And I obsessively made sure my timing chip was on my leg from just from someone forgetting theirs. Can't remember who it was. Good friend of mine.
Some knobhead.
So timing chip on. And you know what they say in with race day is don't try anything new. So what I do is always try something new. I'm terrible.
I think you set a precedent with the day before with a second-hand tent you'd never even unwrapped until the day you arrived.
It's details. I'm not sleeping in it, so I don't care. So I had a race plan. I'll quickly go into that in a minute. But like, I had a brand new like race singlet on that I'd literally worn in a 5 kilometer run, and I was like, I think this will be all right. Actually, I don't even. Yeah, I think I won a 5K run from a brand that I've never even worn before. It worked out really well. And I was running without a pack as well. I was running with, so a lot of people, and this is probably, I'm going to aim it at both of you guys, but
Go on.
you're gonna run with a pack, but don't like run with like 4 water bottles, like even unless it's really, because you just don't need to, because you're coming round every 8K. You just, I had not done 24-hour running racing, but I've done 24-hour bike racing, and it's the exact same format. Just chuck your water bottle at your camp and then just fill another one up, because 500 ml doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 500 grams. Like, it's an extra 500 grams you've got to get up a hill. Like, you just don't need it. And so I was running with a belt, but I had issues with my old pack. It would rub my neck and like make marks and stuff on it, and it was quite painful. I've since then got a new pack, but so do bring food with you. And I had like some food in there, and I had my water bottles and everything in my little belt thing. So I was chatting to a friend of mine because I had loads of people that I know racing, because a lot of people around here race this event anyway because it's so local. So it's very so I know so many people at this race. So I was chatting to a friend of mine called Graham, and I was like, oh yeah. And another bloke that I met at the marathon that I ran 3 weeks ago, so I was chatting to him, just talking about how far you want to go. Everyone was like, oh, I want to do the 100, I want to do the 100. So all right. And this guy's a really accomplished runner as well. So I was standing with him, but I was like, oh, we're quite far back. We're like 3/4 of the way back. And then I saw my mate Nick, and he was like right at the very front. So I was like, oh, let's just go up the front, which is a terrible idea. Don't go at the front, because you get a lot of teams entering, so, and this is for you, Scott, you've done this before, Freddie, but please do not go with the teams, because some of them are going at 30-minute pace for the lap, and that is, we're talking, that's 35-minute 10K pace they're going at. Like bonkers. They're full on sprinting off the start line. But so I was chatting with him, and there was another couple of lads with him that I hadn't really met. Got chatting. It's like, oh, let's run together, because we're all going to do the 100. And my mate Nick's done the 100 like 5 times, because he's a weirdo. He's a bit of a local legend. Everyone knows him. He's a sort of 2:54-ish marathon runner, I think. So it's quick, but he runs like he's one of these weird, he makes my running look like short distance. He runs to work, which is like
my running.
Right? Yeah, no, not at all. He's like super crazy, like even crazier than I am. And I've known him for like 10 years from triathlon days. So I'm running with him, and it's so weird. You come out of the Reading start, and the start goes off, and everyone's like all excited, and we're just running off. And then this guy with us called Ed's just like, just wind it back, just chill out. And I looked at my watch, and we got to the first hill, and we were running at 6-minute 20K pace. And I don't think I've ever run at 6-minute 20K pace, like ever. Which is, and that's no disrespect to anyone that runs, I don't mean that in any way, but like I normally run at roughly 5-minute K pace for my zone 2-ish runs, 5:30 somewhere along there. So 6:20 is like way slow. I was like, whoa, this is really slow. And he's like, trust me. We got to the first hill, which is literally less than probably about a kilometer from the start, not even that. And we start walking, and all of the solos have just gone past us. And I'm like, I was going to run up here, and he's like, no, we're going to walk. And I'm like, but we could run it. And he's like, no, we're going to walk. We're going to walk every hill, every single hill. So I was like, this is so weird. Like, we just gone off the start, and I'm walking already. And
was it frustrating? Was that a frustrating thing to do then? Because it feels natural to run for you.
It does. But... Yeah, I don't know if frustrating is really the word. Like, it's just weird. I
can relate to that. So when I did it, because I did the same last time as much as I could. There was a couple of times I ran, but the feeling I had was like, oh no, am I going to have to try and make this time up on the flats because I've gone so slow? That's how I felt at the time. Was, oh, I'm going to have to pick it up a little bit here because I was going too slow on that uphill. I don't know.
You don't though. That's the thing. And when you start running, and you will not know the benefits of this till about 14 hours later, I found out. So I felt the first lap was, I think, was our fastest lap of the day, which was, I think, 51 minutes. And I was like, that's a good pace. I was like, my God, that's
I'd be happy with
fine.
that.
Yeah, well, exactly. You'd be happy with that, wouldn't you? And it wasn't anything special. It was like, I can't remember the average lap time, but you can work it out. It's an 8-kilometer lap, 51 minutes. It's it's fairly. A lot of people can do that. It's fairly straightforward. Don't get me wrong. There's quite a few hills at Reading. The first one straight out is fairly chonky, and there's another one about 3/4 of the way around called Heartbreak Hill, which I think is actually on this T-shirt somewhere. And you get to it, and we ended up calling it Ed's Pizza Hill because every time we got there, he ate some pizza. Yeah, so you just get to the bottom of the hill and you just walk it. And actually, the uphills are what you look forward to the most because you just get to walk, and it's just so nice. So yeah, anyway, I've never done the lap. So just give you a quick run through of the lap. So the first hill was like tarmac climb, like straight out onto like up to the top to like a gravel fire road that's very exposed into like a beautiful field section. And then there's some quite nice like sort of single track you end up doing for the next 1.5 kilometers, I'd say. Like kind of a bit undulating. Like you can run some of the hills because they're like just little tiny lumps. But anything that looked like it was going to take more than 20 seconds to run, we would just walk. And then there's like the next climb, which is probably, 2-3 minute walk, maybe, if that. And then there's got the big Endure 24 sign where you can take your pictures and your stuff, which is weirdly facing the wrong way, so you can get the selfie. And they probably have it at least. You'll come to it, it's facing the wrong way. It's so you can get your selfies in with it. And then there's what I would just call the flat section of death, which was fine for the first 10, 15 laps, and then it gets real old. It's just flat for like 2.5-3 kilometers, and it just feels like it goes on forever. And there's quite a long bit where you can just see into the abyss going forward, which is fine. Like I say at the start, it becomes less fine later. And you start to hate it because there's no respite because it's flat. You're just running. I say running. You could be just essentially shuffling, but you're not walking. And then there's like a couple of lumps, and there's a cool bit where the old mountain bike section where I used to race was, and the old A-line jump was, and the lakes are, which is super cool. So I was like, I used to race there. And then you get to Heartbreak Hill, which is a big climb, and fair play if you're running it. Even if you're running in a team, fair play because it was steep and it's long and it's gravelly.
Really?
It's quite a savage climb. I wouldn't want to run it normally, to be honest. It was quite, it was quite long as well.
There's none of that, Scott. Just to be clear, mate, there's no hill like that in Leeds. There's a couple of little ones, and the one goes on for a little while, but you definitely wouldn't refer to it as steep.
Yeah, I've looked at a couple of videos, including your old one from last year, but I've looked at a few, and there is a couple of what I would call mounds, but nothing scared me yet. This conversation's scaring me more than the thought of the hills so far.
Yeah, well, Heartbreak Hill was fine, but then you do get what's called the Cool Route section, which I call the Cool Route section. Now, I love trail running. Like, I'm an absolute trail runner by heart, and there's a Cool Route section, and I'm just like, can we send it? And he's like, no, we can't. Because it's like slightly downhill, and it's a bit techie, so it's just like there's routes all over the place. There's quite a few people who took some spills. And yeah, it was quite rooty, and I was just like, I just want to send it. Like, it's got to be so much fun, just like slap down here. And then there's quite a steep descent with like a bark chip. It's kind of hard to explain. The bark chips. I don't know why, but there was that. And then you get into the sort of wind back to the camp, and every time you sort of start speeding up because you can hear the camp, and you get that like feeling, and then you can hear the announcer and stuff, and no matter what you do, you're going to speed up because it's just so cool. And you're running through the camp, and my friend that I used to do all the races was turned up, and he was supporting me and some other people. So every time I go past, I try and find some way of harassing him in the most that kind of way you do when you're good friends with someone. Involved me trying to like slap him on the head and high fives and general abuse that was coming my way, and that was great fun. And then you're going through the camp, and all my friends are there, and just like so many people that know you, and they're all shouting. You're like, oh god! You're trying to like keep yourself under control, and you just want to like really go for it, but you can't. You just got to wind it back and just be sensible. To give you an example, my average heart rate, I think was can't remember. I got the Strava thing, but it's like it was zone 1 for the whole race.
Perfect.
Like,
that's what you strive for, right?
Yeah, you want to just take it as easy as possible. You don't want to be doing some stupid. If you're looking down your heart rate and it's saying zone 3, 160 beats, like you need to wind it right back. You need to.
Well, you're burning up fast, aren't you?
You're gonna have a. The problem is your latter part of the race is going to be awful. Like it's gonna be hard, but how hard is it going to be? Is the question. So, and this is for you, Scott, because I don't know how far you guys are going to go. I wouldn't necessarily put a number on it, but just keep it wound back as much as possible. If you think it's easy, make it even easier. Yeah. And eat like an absolute pig.
Yeah, this is what I said to Scott on the last podcast as well. Was I meant it in a non-offensive way, but I'm going to be really spiteful on the run, and if somebody, I'm really determined that I don't get dragged along and caught up in someone else's pace. Like if Scott wants to go a little bit quicker than me, then I would just pat him on the back and say, "Look, I'll see you on the next lap or whatever." But it's really important actually that you put it right back. Slow.
I would just
sorry, go on.
You've got 24 hours and 59 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a long race. It's a long finish. So that means that the race finishes at 24:59, not a short race where it would finish at 23:59. So you essentially have nearly 25 hours.
Yeah.
You can walk a long way in 25 hours, let alone run. Yeah. You have a long time. The best thing for you to do is just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And just I'll give you some tip. Like, you know, I've had a whole section I've got here called Tard Stop Tips. But like, there's a couple of things that I would do is, one, if you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, eat. If you don't feel like eating, eat. Like, and eat real food. Don't take gels and that nonsense. Like, eat actual food.
What were you eating?
All kinds of nonsense, mate. So flapjack. I got a hot dog from the hot dog van. I tried to get a pizza, but they ran out of dough again. So I had a sandwich. There was a lot of sweets and like cakes, like heaps of flapjack. Like a lot of watermelon, general fruit, grapes, bananas, like just actual food. Like I didn't have a single energy gel, not one.
Right.
And I was using Tailwind to like fuel. And I was doing one roughly 400 ml bottle per lap. So make sure you're drinking as well. And I also was drinking normal Coke at each stop.
I was going to say, everyone keeps talking about full fat Coke, and it's something I never have in the house. I don't drink it. As I've got older, I actually don't like it anymore. But I've bought a crate of it for this stupid race just because everybody keeps telling me it's essential.
Mate, exactly the same. Don't drink it. In the race, though, it's like God's nectar.
I was going to say, I bet it tastes good.
Oh, it tastes amazing, but it's like sugar and caffeine. It's just like just what you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is just what you need in your life. I can guarantee it. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, back to sort of how the race was going. So yeah, the first 4 laps just went. I can't even tell you. It just sort of just flew by, and we were like, you know, getting into a really good rhythm. We knew exactly when to stop, when to walk, when to run. And we didn't even need to say anything. We were just having a good time, just chatting, just living our best life, you know, just chatting to your really good mates, just having I can't explain to you how much fun I was having. I actually ended up losing my voice by the end of the race because it gone like all horsey and raspy because I was so loud and annoying. Because I was just having a great time. Like it's just it's a really fun party atmosphere. You're going to have so much fun. And I'm so jealous because I want to be there.
Do you know, you said something, Jamie, at the beginning on the last one. You said something that resonated with me about the events and the medals being just parts of the overall journey of running. This is now where my head is now. I am looking forward to the whole cathartic experience of the whole weekend. I'm not even focused on the actual running part of it. I'm just looking forward to being in that atmosphere, surrounded by fellow-minded people, runners, and just that whole experience is going to be the highlight for me rather than the hard work. That's going to probably make me cry at some point. But I'm looking forward to the experience the whole weekend. Like the old Scott in his 20s would have been looking forward to Glastonbury, the V festivals and stuff like that. this is where I'm at now. It's another version of that, but for runners, and I totally am excited about what you've just described there.
It's honestly like, and there's people rave about Endure for the party atmosphere, and it is just so cool, especially when you start getting to the evening and people are like getting absolutely shit-faced in the tent, hanging over the barrier, and you're just like going by high-five, and they're like, "Yeah, you go!" And it was great. My mates were getting really, really drunk as well, and they were having a great time. They were really, really off their trolley, and just like hanging over the barrier, just high-five, like both hands over the barrier. It was so good, and it was just super fun, and the whole party atmosphere is incredible, but and don't get me wrong, I really wanted this yellow t-shirt. I was willing to jump over a granny to get it. And
you were brave enough to admit that before the race as well, though. You said to us, "I'm going for 100 miles."
Yeah,
you put it out there.
I was going to crawl there if I'm being honest, mate. Like I did a lot. You follow me on Strava, but I did back-to-back marathons and stuff. Literal marathon on Friday, marathon on Saturday, kind of stupidness. I'm gonna do the training. I will get there. I don't care what it takes for me to do it. I will do it. And you don't need to do as much training as I did by any means to do the 100 miles. But I really wanted to just make it was a life goal to get it. But I'll go into that in a bit because it gets a bit emotional towards the middle part of the race. But so the first 4 laps, there was 4 of us. It was me, my mate Nick, a guy called Ed, and a guy called Mikkel. And they were all from the same run club, and I was just friends with Nick. And so I ended up becoming friends with Ed and all the other people. Mikkel dropped back a bit because he had a hurty knee, so he had to stop in camp. And we just kept going. And I felt amazing. I feel incredible. Got to 10 laps, and I'm like, I still feel great. And I'm 50 miles into a race. I've never been this far. I ended up shouting, "This is as far as I've ever gone." And the run club, the running YouTube channel person happened to be there, and he's like, "Oh, this is the furthest you've ever gone." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Let's go." So people just shouting, and yeah, I can't remember his name. He's done a few ultras and stuff, but yeah, from that, the running channel, it's quite cool. It wasn't on purpose that I happened to do it. Then I was just looked at my watch, and I was like, "Oh, let's go." And it was all hunky dory up to about 100k, and it was just going around, just eating. The middle aid station, there's one aid station on course. And I'll be interested to see how you guys find it, because this year was terrible. It was really bad. Right. They had nothing. They had no food. And I don't mean they had some food. They had no food. Right. They just had some drinks, some high five. They had a Red Bull van there that was quite cool. That was doing music and giving out Red Bulls. I had one of those at one point. And
you were still in Zone 1.
Yeah, exactly. I only have one Red Bull, by the way. My friend Mikkel, when he went past, he was collecting a Red Bull and then putting it in his tent. It's if I collect enough, it'd pay for the race entrance. I was like, smart. And he told me a story when we were there. I think it was Ed who told me the story about there was an Ironman race and they were giving out Molten gels, and I'd never heard of them, but apparently they're really expensive. They're
£2.5 quid, aren't they?
Yeah, £3 each. I was like, what for gel? And they were giving them out. So he had a set a bag on him, and he was putting all the gels in a bag. And I found that hilarious. Wow. They definitely weren't doing that in Endure, for sure. There's basically not really an aid station, so make sure you bring your own stuff, because the middle aid station was pretty bad. But I'll be interested to see what they had. They had occasionally had some fruit, and when I mean occasionally, I think 3 times they had fruit.
I'll be honest. I think last year that was pretty much it as well. They had water. They had the what you call it, drink. Yeah, it was the other brand last year. It was SOS. Oh, okay. And they had fruit. Yeah, if I remember rightly, that was pretty much all they had last year.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame because Threshold are known for their aid stations. I'll let you know in 2 weeks. So I've got a Threshold race coming up in 2 weeks. Right. So I'm doing Race of the Stones. So yeah. I'll briefly touch on that because I've got a bit of a knackered knee at the moment, so let's see how that goes. But we ignore that. So the night was where it got a bit interesting because it got really cold. And what I would say, even if it's really hot at the moment, bring some of my base layers, because I nearly didn't bring any base layers. And I got really cold. I had to swap out the singlet because the singlet's a proper racing, barely anything of it, summer singlet, into just a general. It was actually my £1.55 Under Armour running shirt that I got super cheap. And I just had like some cycling base layers and ended up in gloves on as well. Like I was so cold because it was like 6 degrees, I think.
Right.
And I just remember being so cold. I was like, I just feel freezing. I nearly put a like soft shell jacket on as well. It was just getting so cold. And yeah, I had a right wobble at like 140k. It was like in the middle of I knew it was going to come. Like you just know it's going to happen at some point, and you got to kind of. The bad times will happen. You're gonna like Freddie knows, like you're gonna get the bad time, and the bad time came, and the bad time really came, and it's really weird. I went from being super happy to just like couldn't talk to anyone, and I just
how
sort of
quickly did that happen? Like how quick was that change?
Like instantly. It was like one lap. It was weird. Like I can't explain to you like how it went, and I felt really like emotional. It was so weird, and I'm not a particularly emotional guy, and I felt like I wanted to cry, and I don't know why.
That's exactly what happened to me. I remember it vividly, and I got some of it on video. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was and I went boom. Now I'm done. Now I need to go and sit down. And it was like I say, 1 o'clock in the morning. I started getting really emotional, and I just wanted to go back to the campsite, but it took me an hour to get there. So I didn't get back to camp till just after 2 o'clock in the morning. So that hour, I was just an absolute wreck, and I was sobbing, literally sobbing, going around.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, I mean, I knew I was going to run through the night. Like I wasn't stopping because I didn't even bring any bedding with me. Like that was not even an option. So I had no sleeping bag, nothing. There was none of that. This was not. It wasn't even an option. So I was running through the night regardless. The problem is, if I stop, I wouldn't start again because obviously at 140k, getting a bit tired.
Just a bit.
Just like it's weird. Like because we run quite slowly. We'd actually started really because we've just been steady. All the laps were very, very like back to back at the same time.
Yeah.
So we had actually gone up to like I think we were like in 3rd, 4th, and 5th place. It's like we were like on podium. Because we've just been solid and we just didn't stop. And then people are starting to sleep and stuff. And we're just like, well, I'm not going to sleep. That's a ridiculous idea. Why would I sleep? I'm here to race. I'm not here to sleep. This is not advice to not sleep. But if you want to go really far, you don't sleep. Yeah. And it's only for one night. Like, it's fine. But I got back to camp and I did have to just stop for just 10 minutes. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened because it's a bit grim. But like, I had to stop, give myself a little bit of a chat and just be like, sort yourself out, have a Coke, eat something, and just, you'll be all right. My friends were asleep at this point. So it was just me. And Nick had gone off because it was me and Nick at this point. He'd gone off because his camp was further along. So he'd gone to see his wife, who was up all night, and she was like timing us and doing the laps and all that lot. And I just stood there and I'm like, I'm going to be okay. I said, I'll catch up with you. And it was fine. And then I caught up with him, had a little chat to Lou, his wife, stole some of his flapjack and donut, which was really good. Like had a bit of pick me up, and then I just felt a little bit better about life. And then we got to the first hill, had a walk, and then after that, I felt okay. And then it started to get like a bit light because it was like getting to 4 or 5 in the morning, and just really starting to get to the latter points of the race for me because I was like, we're hitting like 85 miles at this point, or something. And Ed had gone off because he'd gone a bit faster because the race leader joined us for a bit, a guy called Dean, who was just an absolute animal. That was a fun game we were playing, actually, sort of off topic, but we were playing how long is it going to be till he blows up? Because the guy went out solo and he was running 35-minute laps or something solo. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, what are you doing? And we asked him, it's like, so how many ultras you done before? He's like, I've never run further than a marathon. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, but he's a sub 240 marathoner. So the guy was like rapid. Like absolutely, like you could look at him, you just tell like he looked like an elite marathon runner. But he was chilling with us for quite a while because he just obviously it caught up with him a bit, understandably. But he was about 2 or 3 laps ahead of us. 2 laps? No, yeah, 2 laps ahead of us at this point. He just kept going the whole time. Fair play to him. yeah, so when it started getting light, then it's like you get a real big pick me up, like really big, like massive. It's hard to explain, like super euphoric. You see the light coming over the endure sign as you're going up the hill. Like the camp starts to come alive, people are waking up, and like I'm like I am, 85 miles into a race at this point, and this is incredible. Like this is like something you just don't experience in life. Yeah. And started to feel really fun, and it's weird. My legs started to feel good again because they started to get this kind of. You guys have probably had it, but that kind of sort of trashed feeling in your quads. It feels like someone has just attacked your quads with a hammer.
Yeah.
But they started to feel a bit better. And it really perked us up. And then we're like, we've only got like 4 laps to go until we hit the 100. And we're in like 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Like this is. And then, but I also looked at my watch and I was like, we could go on 20 hours for 100 miles. I was like, that's like the sub 3 for a marathon. I was like, we could do the sub 20. And so we started to pick up the pace because it's like, what's the worst that could happen? So we started to pick up the pace a bit. And we started to like hammer home a bit more. And yeah, it was hard, but it was just like you could see the end. And we were deciding what we were going to do, but when we hit the 100 as well. Because I was like, I'm not stopping until I hit that 100-mile point. I thought you meant
after the 100 there. I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep
going. Yeah. Well, we were coming up with all kinds of harebrained schemes at this point. It was ridiculous. Because I was like, well, we could just, how far can we go? Because, the endure saying is like, how far can you go?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how far can we go? I was like, what is stupid? And it's like, how much do I not want to walk this week? And how much am I going to annoy my wife? That's where you're starting to get, because you're starting to get into like proper stupid territory at that point. And yeah, Nick has done it 5 times, the 100, and he's never gone over 100. And he's like, I can't do it. I can't go over the 100. And I was like, I don't care what we do, mate. We are going over that 100 this time. We're going to do it. You've dragged me around this 100-mile we dragged each other around. We are going to do it. It's all well and good saying that when you still got 4 laps to go and you're like, oh, you kind of got that second wind, but got to, I think, lap 17 or 18. And then my legs started to feel trashed again, like properly trashed. And then we dropped back a bit and it was a bit harder. But yeah, we managed to sort of ground our way through. I think we did an hour 6 or something for that lap. It was quite slow for us. And then we started pushing up again. I think this is when you guys started watching me on the thing, because this is when people started waking up. It was like 6 or 7 a.m. And we're like, well, we've got to go to sub 20. So we like sort of hammered ish around the 19th lap. I think we did like 58 minutes. And then for our final lap, I think we did the second fastest lap of the day for us. Because we had 1 hour and 4 minutes to go under 20 hours. And I was like, we've got to do it, mate. Like, how often do you get to this point and you're like, I'm going to go sub 20? Like, it's not very often for a 100-mile race. You're lucky to get to this point in a 100-mile race, let alone have the chance of going sub 20. So I was like, let's just leave it out there. Let's just go. And we were doing 5 minute. We did a 440 kilometer at one point at like 95 miles. It was insanity. Like the final 3 miles, that long stretch before Heartbreak Hill, we just beast moded it down there at like 5-minute K pace, like men possessed. And we're going through. And then we get to Heartbreak Hill. Obviously, we walk that because you just can't. No way. I don't care how fresh you feel. That is a horrendous hill. And then the last bit, we just like absolutely hammered it through to the camp, and then got across that line for the 100-mile. And luckily, the announcer had like just woken up, because it was like, I don't know, like maybe 8 o'clock in the mornings, something like that. And I just didn't know what to do. Like I was whatever. Nick's just shouting out, just like, we've got 100 miles. And like 20 laps, and I've gone across the line. I'm not exactly going to repeat exactly what I said, but it was just like, yeah, like super like that. I was like, come on. Like really, like the whole camp like heard me. I was like, it's done 100 miles, like absolute life goal. And then it's like, and then I remember we've got one more lap to go, and my body had made a sort of deal with my head saying, you can do 100 miles, not 105 miles. You can do 100 miles.
Yeah.
That last lap, that we went to do that last lap, that was a war of attrition. It took me nearly 2 hours to get round that lap. I couldn't run. It was horrific. It was like this is how nice people are though. So I got to Nick at his wife's place, and I said, mate, you gotta go on. And he's like, well, we're just gonna walk. I was like, I genuinely don't even think how fast I can walk this. It's a real concern because I'm done. I left it all out there, and I'm like properly done. I was like, just walking 8 kilometers. I was like, but we do have like 4.5 hours to do it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I can do a walking lap in 4.5 hours, no matter how slow it is. So, and I was like, well, I'll just get a cup of tea and sort of just walk round. And I really wish I had the Freddie Slider thing situation going on here at this point, because I had a weird injury. Now then, I have a slight tangent, but I have what is known as, it's a technical medical term, it's a serious ailment. It's called Gruffalo feet, and they're big fat plates of meat, and I've wedged them in my like Salomon S-Lab trail shoes, and they're a bit narrow for me, and that's fine. I've done ultras in them before; they're absolutely fine. 100 miles is very different to 55k though.
Yeah,
it's a very different thing. You were just on your feet for a long time, and my toes had rubbed so much. They weren't blistered. I suppose it is a blister, but they rubbed so much. It just rubbed the skin away completely, and they were so painful. Like I couldn't on my little outer pinky toe, and it was just so painful. And it was like only now that I've started to realise it, and I'm like, I just really wish I could take these shoes off. Like I really would love a pair of sliders, but if I wore the sliders, I would never be able to get shoes back on, because your feet really swell in ultras. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't. And I made a mental note to buy a new pair of shoes after this for Gruffalo feet.
That's exactly why I ended up wearing them, because I made the mistake of when I did go and have 3 hours sleep. When I had that 3 hours sleep, I took my shoes off. And at that point, I couldn't put them back on again. So you're right.
Yeah, it's not a nice feeling. I'm not going to lie. So just make sure your shoes are wide. I don't want to scare you before your race. My friend Ed, he ran the whole race in Vaporflies.
Right.
Like a madman. I'm like, because it's trail as well, and I'm like, they got really high, like stack height and whatnot. I would break my ankle running them. So I ran in normal trail shoes. Nick ran it in normal road shoes, but not Vaporflies, which have got like that much height on them. It's really... There you go.
That's
nice
my
pair of Crocs.
Just got them literally 2 weeks ago. That my children think it's hilarious that Dad owns a pair of these. But this is for when we're struggling. I'm prepared.
Yeah, I've got my. These are my beauties. The Ophios sliders. Actually, sell them at Endures. Funny enough, they're really comfortable. Right. I recommend. So the last lap was just like there was no running involved. We decided we weren't going to run. We made this decision. We just weren't going to run. We're going to walk, and we just had a walking lap, our victory lap we called it. And I walked up the first climb with Nick for a bit, and I'm like, I honestly can't do it. You're going to have to go on. It's going to take me way longer than you are. I was just shuffling. It was like a really slow shuffle. And the amount, it must have been 100 people who asked me, "Are you okay? Do you need like medical help?" The people will just stop.
Yep. And
they will ask you. They will sacrifice their own race to help you. They're like, "I'll walk you back to the aid station." I'm like, honestly, I'm fine. Like I said, I just ran 100 miles, and I'm now doing the victory lap. And I'm just shuffling around. Like, thank you so much for stopping. Some lovely woman came by, and I told her a little bit about like my story and how I got here, and she like started crying on me, and I'm just like, oh, so nice. And it's like, she's like, "Oh, you're inspirational. You're kind of like David Goggins." I was like, certainly wouldn't sell David Goggins, but it's like, I wouldn't say inspirational. I just say I'm just some idiot that wants to run 100 miles, really. But it was so nice for her to like chat. And then after Heartbreak Hill and whatnot, because the hills didn't make any difference at this point because everything was shuffling. But the downhill, I was dreading the downhills because I'm like, how am I going to walk down this? Like, it's quite steep. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to walk down it. luckily, some really nice ladies had come with some poles. And she's like, "Do you want to borrow my poles?" I was like, "Oh, please, can I borrow your poles? Like, I'll give you money or anything just to borrow these for 5 minutes." And she's like, "Of course, don't worry." And she gave them, and I managed to hook my way down this hill with these poles. And I gave them to the end, and I was like, "Can I have a hug?" We had a nice little hug. And then I was only like a kilometre away from camp, and then I got across the finish line, and people were like, "Are you going to go again?" I'm like, "I'm done. Like, I can't. It's gone past fun. Like, it's gone past. I've gone here. I've done exactly what I want to do. I've gone further than I ever planned to go. And I could have done another lap. And you know what? It doesn't really. I mean, it kind of weighs a little bit on mine, but it would have got me on the podium,
right?
Like,
yeah.
So, and the person who beat us was like 2 hours behind us. But it's just what we stopped, and he didn't. So fair play to him. Like, that's what it's about. But I was like, we wanted to do that sub 20, which was more important than getting on that podium. And most important, I wanted that yellow t-shirt, because this yellow t-shirt to me is worth more than any medal. Like, this is earned
100%.
Like, I wanted to frame it, and Nick hasn't taken. I don't think he's washed his. He went to Thorpe Park on Sunday, like literally like 2 days ago, and he's wearing it out. I'm like, have you taken it off yet? So we've done park run in it, because it's like around here, you turn up to park run, and everyone's turning up in their endure t-shirts, and we're like,
and what? Yeah.
It's just like, so did you do enduro? It's like, yeah. You gotta flaunt it a little bit. He's like, I was like, I worked hard for this. Like, I wanted it. Like, I really, really, really wanted it. I can't explain. Yeah. But then the sit down on the chair afterwards. Oh, I can't explain to you how good the sit down on the chair was. It's a camping chair, and it was so good. And like, they brought me like food over from the food stall and a cup of tea, and it was like heaven. And it was just incredible. And then I was watching everyone else, like, because there was still like 3 hours left of the race. So I'm there, like, now cheering, so I'm just support now. And
Did you have this on at this point? Were you wearing this at this point?
Yeah. First thing I did when I finished was go over to the tent place, give them my result, because you have to prove your result.
Yeah.
And then I put this on, and the run club people came over, the running channel came over, and they're like, "How'd you get on?" I was like, 100 miles! And they're like, "Oh, amazing, well done." Their YouTube video will be up soon, actually, because I did ask them when they're going to be up, so it should be up probably around this weekend. They will most likely be at Leeds as well, so you bump into them. They're very nice. Nice. So they've been at Leeds every year, because it's normally Anna who does the Leeds one. So you'll see them vlogging around. But yeah, anyway, like, loads of people were coming around, and I was just like cheering them on, just like having my best life, being a supporter, feeling a bit dead, not going to lie. So happy to have my shoes and socks off, which was just it's beautiful. And yeah, me and Nick had quite a few big old man hugs. We're very close friends now. I'm actually running with him on Saturday.
Nice.
So he only lives down the road in Basingstoke from me. So I've known him for years, but we've become very, very good friends after that race. Kipper's like, do I need to worry? Really, really incredible guy. Yeah, I met some. Just the people you meet from running and stuff is just it's amazing. It's very emotional just getting that 100-mile t-shirt, and then you'll see it when you do Leeds at the end of the race. There's a giant podium with all the 100-mile runners, and they all get to go on the podium. So I was at the podium.
That's cool. Super cool. It's cool that you guys got your t-shirts straight away as well, because I know in previous years that's not been the case. They would get them sent to them maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the event.
Yeah, Nick was saying, I was like, what? I was like, really? I was like, I'd be gutted, but no, they gave it to us on the day.
That's cool.
They do it right then and there. Yeah, no, I didn't realise that at all. Until he said, I was like, really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
What's the new target then for next year? Because we know that you've already agreed to come to the next year.
Yeah, so we've got
no hills in Leeds. There's no hills in Leeds. Well, you should be able to go further.
I am going to it because it's actually a ballot entry. It's going to be for Leeds.
Well,
I think.
Before we carry on, actually, this is something I was going to mention. It's going to a ballot next year. I have some concerns with that, and I tell you why. we've got quite a few people now that have said they want to come along with us and do this. I'm a bit concerned that not everyone gets a place. So I just want to throw it out there: should we look at an alternative event for next year that none of us have done before? You know.
Well, I do know another 24-hour event that's down
There's
here.
a few.
There are quite a few. I mean, I'm down for whatever, but I think, especially with Leeds didn't sell out solo until like a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
Yeah. I think even though it's a ballot, I think you'll get in anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super oversubscribed as they want. Reading's a bit different. Reading sells out way quicker. Yeah. So I think it would be a bit of a different story for Reading. I mean, I'm up for whatever, but I have a plan for next year that is on a borderline level of insanity of what I want to do.
If you end up in Barclay, I'm going to be so jealous.
Oh no, it's not that level of insanity. Like, I'm not that stupid. I've done a self-navigating race. I'll briefly go into that this year, which involved complete self-navigation, and it kind of went okay. But yeah, I plan on doing the South Downs Way 100, which is a Centurion running event, which is an epic race down the South Downs Way, which is the exact same day as Enduro 24 Reading. But then I plan on 3 weeks later going for the 100 miles at Leeds. So I want to do back-to-back 100 miles with barely.
And how long has it been now since Reading?
3 weeks? 4 weeks?
Right. Weeks, yeah.
And how are the legs?
Well, I ran a 20-minute park run on Saturday.
So this weekend, would you have that in you, do you think?
Yeah.
In theory? Yeah?
Yeah, assuming not injured. I did 127k week last week. Because I probably started too early, so I had almost a week off. I did actually start running a little bit in that week, briefly. It was my toe that was the issue, and there's a really deep fatigue feeling in your quads. It's hard to explain. So it took me a good few days to get to do any kind of running, and you should take the time off. You really should, and not feel bad about it. But the reason I went back into it quickly because I wanted to sort of piggyback straight into Race to the Stones. So I took like a week of like real backed right off. And then I went straight into a build week last week, like pushing it straight back into like, I did a 32k long run and, some 3 20k runs back to back. And this week is like another semi-build week straight to another taper. And I think I've overused my IT band and it's like a bit hurty at the moment, which is a bit annoying. But I got off Endure quite unscathed. So assuming you get away with unscathed, it should be all right. It's not a good idea to like go back-to-back hundreds like that because you do feel mentally and physically exhausted. But I was like, well, really want to do the South Downs Way 100 and I really want to do Leeds. And I know loads of fun people that are doing Leeds and I just want to do South Downs Way 100 because I want to do it. And annoyingly, there's a club. I joined a running club. It's all down to you, Freddie, by the way, that.
Right, you did join one. Nice.
Yeah, I joined a running club and I did a race with them at the weekend. So I did a relay race, which was quite fun. And I managed to set the third fastest time of the day on my leg, nice. Which was interesting because I was putting all the excuses in. I was like, oh, I can't go fast, can't do it. Like, I can't do it, guys. Like, and I had brand new running shoes as well. So I got my new wider shoes, which are Ultra Mont Blanc Carbon. So I've got carbon trail shoes now.
Right, nice.
And I was like, I was like, I'll do it for the B team. And I had an absolute cracking run. And it was self-navigating as well. So I'm like sort of staring at my Garmin at the same time. And like, I was knocking out 3-minute 50Ks back to back. And I did the park run the day before, a 20-minute park run, which was a terrible idea. So I was like, how stupid you shouldn't do back-to-back fast runs anyway. And I was just like, I'm an idiot. Don't do anything I do. just don't do stupid stuff. And I ran to park run and home from park run because I'm that kind of weirdo that does that as well.
I'd like to ask you a question. I'd like to ask you a question about like what you thought of the whole setup and everything, because I tell you what I've noticed on social media at the moment is a lot of people that are going to Leeds, and I think they were doing it for the Reading event as well. A lot of them seem to be being pretty negative about stuff and worrying about things that, frankly, barely crossed my mind. why haven't I got my car park pass yet? The race is in 6 days. I'm like, chill. It's on its way.
Yeah.
But like that's ridiculous. Like, just first of all, like I am an obsessive like planner when it comes to things. Like I want to know everything. But I'm no stress. Like the car park pass came. What day is it? Wednesday. It would have come about the Wednesday or Thursday. It came like literally a couple of days beforehand. First of all, they don't care. They don't even look at the car park pass.
Exactly right.
They don't even look at it. So you can print it off. They don't even look at it. They'll ask you, "Are you a solo? Are you a team?" You tell them what you are, and they just tell you to go there. They don't care. I don't even know why they bother doing a car park pass. So they will just ignore that. And Reading is busier than Leeds as well. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
The whole setup, apart from that aid station halfway around, which was terrible, and I did feed that back to them. Everything else was perfect, in my opinion. The race was run really well. The toilets were emptied constantly and clean. Especially where we were in the solos. I heard some maybe not so great things about the team places, but the solos they were pristine the whole time. No complaints from anyone. The pizza place ran out of dough, but I mean, that's on them, not really on the event. Everything else was great. Like, the announcer was brilliant. There was good music. Like, there was a cool fire pit. I mean, what do you want? Like, it's just everything's perfect. And the organisation when you're there was just very like, this way. There was loads of staff, like heaps and heaps and heaps of staff, like a proper festival, situation. And the only thing you need to do is register at the registration tent, and then you get like a wristband situation deal that you can do at normal festivals, and you just show them the wristband and you go into the event bit. And I don't know why people are moaning. Like I thought it was great, and especially for the price is actually not bad for what you get, really.
Sure.
Compared to some of the other ultras. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not like for a whole weekend. I mean, it's pretty cheap. It's
not an Ironman cost, is it?
No. It's like, what is it, like 140 quid, something like that?
Yeah,
which is a lot of money. But like, it's a whole weekend of like camping and stuff. And if you want to camp and just support, it's like 10 quid or something. Like,
I think it's 15 quid. You can even get tickets.
Something like that. You can get them on the day, mate. You can just go to the tent and you can just buy them. So you don't even have to book them in advance. You can just go buy them. And it was like super cheap. And I'll be honest, you could just not pay if you wanted to. You could just drive in and just camp and they wouldn't even check. I mean, I would pay just for the point of it. But like, they don't, like, it's super laid back, but not like in a bad way.
Yeah. I think most of that is they ask you to pay so you get that wristband so you can go into the village. Because you're right. You can go into the park. You're free to go in the park anyway. But obviously, you're paying for that camping part, but they won't let you into the village without the wristband.
No, they won't. So they're pretty high on the security in there. But it's like, I just thought the whole thing was very well run, and I was very happy with it. And it was just, like I said, just the aid station thing I thought was a bit meh. But it'd be interesting to see what the ones that race, because I've heard the Racer Stones ones are meant to be incredible, and it's run by Threshold, so the same people who run Endure.
Right.
So it's meant to be amazing. They're meant to have like full-on sandwiches and hot food and all sorts of nonsense. So I'll find out when I do it. Hopefully I finish it, because 100k race straight after 100 mile is interesting.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm just hoping my knee holds out, because I've got some real bad ITBS at the moment. It's just it's not fun. So got physio booked, but I'm not expecting miracles.
I went through that last year, Jamie, and I did the same, booked a physio, and it was the best 50 quid I've ever spent. The exercises I was given and the tips and methods to deal with it worked an absolute charm. Just got to make sure you're the kind of guy that will, but you just got to make sure you're consistent with the exercises and the stretches they give you. And because I did it and I followed it religiously because I wanted to do that, I had no choice. Otherwise, the marathon would have been cancelled. I got through it absolutely unscathed.
Yeah, I've found a load of videos and stuff like online. I do have a physio booked, and but it's like still a 2-week wait or whatever. But I've been doing loads of exercises for it. But it's a bit annoying.
Well, Scott, I mean, now we're just talking about injuries and stuff. It would be a good chance to move on to what you've been experiencing the last couple of weeks. Because now I put a video out today, and I really wanted to get it out before we had this chat today, because in that video I do talk about how you've had a calf injury the last week or so. So give us an update, mate. How is it?
Yeah. So I've seen the video, and thank you for that. It was freak just a freak out of the blue calf strain. I thought it was a tear at first because it was like somebody putting a knife through the back of my calf. I'd done lots of slow running, lots of zone 2 running. We did that long 14 miler the week before, and hadn't done any quick tempo runs for ages. So I went out and done a tempo run at lunchtime, just a 5K. I thought I'd like try and step the pace up. Halfway through it, and I felt like I'd been shot in the leg. It was ridiculous, but I managed to stop instantly. I knew straight away something bad had happened. So I immediately pulled up and stopped. And I rang my wife and said, "Look, I'm stuck. Can you come and collect me?" And then I messaged you, didn't I? Because I was sick as a dog. I thought 2 weeks away from this can't be happening. But I got home, iced it straight away, and my wife, in a previous life, she was a sports therapist, so she gave me all the tips to deal with what was going on. And basically, I haven't run for the best part of 10 days, and then the weekend came, and Sunday night I went out for a very, very slow run with a calf sock on it, just to see how I could do, and I managed to get round in like 12-minute miles, and I thought, better than nothing, I'll take that. And then I thought, now I'll leave it, and I'll wait until we start our first lap on Saturday this next weekend and find out it's going to go then. I'll be devastated. So I went out today at lunchtime and did a 5K at fairly average pace for me, back to where I was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Nothing stupidly quick, but yeah, I got round absolutely fine, no problem. So my confidence is there now that even if I manage 10 laps, I'll be over the moon. Like 10 laps will be the pinnacle for me now. Because I don't feel like I've trained for 2 weeks. I've done nothing really. But then again, listening to Jamie there talking about the tapering, I think I was going to be tapering anyway during these 2 weeks that I haven't been able to run. So the little bits and pieces I've done, I mean, I've walked every day and I've done lots of stretching, but I've done no major cardio work. And I feel a bit better now hearing what Jamie said there, and he tapered 2 weeks out. I've been forced to do it this time. So hopefully, touch wood, I'll surprise myself and a few others, I think. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, you can't increase your fitness in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No.
It's just not going to happen. So, like, I mean, it's the same for me now with my race. My race is in 2.5 weeks. I could essentially stop and do nothing for 2.5 weeks, and it would make pretty much no difference. Like your aerobic base, which is what this entire race is, takes months and months to decline. We're not even talking weeks. It's only your super high VO2 max, your fast stuff, that declines very, and it's not even that quick. It still goes down quite steadily. I think for like 4 weeks. There's the, don't quote me on this, but there's stuff online. But the aerobic base takes literal months.
Yeah.
So I genuinely wouldn't. You're way better just not doing anything.
Honestly, that run today was like a huge weight off my shoulders. Getting home and knowing I can do it, and it didn't hurt. I got to the end of my street and I thought I'd felt a niggle, and it was like, "What's that? Oh no, what's that? Is that a click? Is that a crunch? What's going on?" By the time I got to the top of the street, I was like, "It's in your head. You're just paranoid. Just keep going."
It's the taper crazies, mate. The taper crazies get us all.
Really was.
It's actually you want to race just so you can get away from the taper nonsense that goes on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was driving me. It was honestly driving me up the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to like say anything about it either, like before the race. But I was like, I don't know. It turned weird. Like I was just obsessing about those crazy things. I was also obsessing about like the dishwasher breaking my foot or something. Like if I drop, like just crazy things. You're like, what am I doing to myself? Or like I'd strain myself getting out of my chair.
I kid you not, I dropped the shampoo bottle in the shower 3 days ago, and I moved quicker than I've ever moved in my life to get my metatarsals out of the way of that bottle hitting the deck.
Oh my god!
What is wrong with me?
It's mad.
Oh, I'm glad it's not just
madness, me. Like what you do. Oh no, I'm a fairly experienced like racer, and I just drives me up the wall. I can't deal with it. I'd rather just want to get back to normal running than the craziness that goes with the tapers. So come on, lads. You don't have to answer this question.
Go on.
Right, Scott. How far do you want to go? How far? You don't have to say like, I want to do like whatever. But what do you think? Come on.
My baseline is anything further than the Manchester Marathon, right? That's my baseline. That's my minimum I want to do. Unknown territory once I get past 26.2. I'd love to do 50 miles. And if I can do 50 miles, then there's no reason why I can't round it off, switch to K, and go for 62 miles and do 100k. 100k would be my pinnacle, like platinum. 50 miles, I'll be over the moon.
You get to the 50 miles, and it's less than a half marathon to that 100k.
Yeah, I know.
So and that's only it's only a few park runs. And to just think of it, when you get to that, when you are tired and you get to that 50 miles, think of how long you will likely have left of that day. You can just walk around. You don't need to run around. There's no heroics that are needed. Just, it's it's definitely a tortoise and hare situation.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain to you the amount of people that we went past. It was crazy. It would have been over 100.
Yeah.
I kind of have a feeling I already know what you're going to say, Freddie. So,
right. Well, I'm looking at it. First of all, I'm finding it a bit different this year, and I'm a bit weirded out by it in a way. I have absolutely zero nerves about doing it this time. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but honestly, it's almost like it's not bothering me whatsoever. It feels like I'm going to go do half marathon. And I know reality is going to smack me in the face when I get to whatever distance I get to. But I'm almost trying to find a way to make myself a bit more nervous because I'm not feeling any nerves right now. So when I say the distance I want to aim for, I don't want it to sound like I'm being cocky because I'm really not. Because I think I've picked a distance that is maybe not achievable. But part of the reason I've chosen the distance is last year I got 10 laps in 50 miles, and it was unbelievably hot. I think it peaked at like 28 degrees last year, and somebody that lives in Northumberland, that's obscene, right? And that's really what scuppered me going any further. Hey, I'm really happy with what I got. I'm over the moon actually that I managed to do 50 miles. I wasn't even sure that was possible, but I really want to do 15 laps, so 75 mile.
That's a proper solid effort.
Right, and that's really what I want to give myself. I don't. 50 would be a realistic target again, but I've already hit that target, and I feel that if I pick that as my target, that's what I'll aim for. Once I get it, I'll be all right. I'll be happy. I'll quit. I don't want to quit. I don't want to give myself permission to go and have that 3 hours sleep that I had last time.
Don't sleep. I would just don't do it. Like don't.
Even in my head, I'm like, okay, the average person walks about 3 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. I did this kind of calculation, by the way.
Right. You do 3 times, let's say 3 times 21, because you're going to take time off to get changed, have some food, change your socks, your shoes, and all that stuff. Let's say you waste 3 hours, so 3 times 21. There's 63 miles. Well, if I chuck a bit of running in there as well, then there's no reason I can't get to 75. So that's
you will be up there on the list of finishers if you do 75, because a lot of people go for the 10 laps is a pretty solid one, and loads of people I talked to went for the 100k,
right,
and they stop after the 100k. And if you got to like 100k, Scott, and you weren't completely broken,
keep going.
You've got to keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Like they do have an interesting like slogan threshold, which is more is in you.
I've seen it. I've seen it on the actual funnel at the start and finish. It's written on the back of it.
It's actually a really good one. Yeah. You always got one. Yeah, that's it. Like one more lap, and there's always like the sayings like, tough runs don't last, tough runners do, and all that kind of nonsense. And it is kind of true. There's, unless you're like injured, obviously, then don't be silly.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be silly, but don't be silly. Don't do what I do. I would definitely do it. I mean, 75 is a properly solid effort. I mean, I would just be so happy. Like if you do, I mean, I firmly believe you can do it without a shadow of a doubt. If you didn't sleep last time and it wasn't a ridiculously hot day, because I think the weather looks nice. You got the same weather I had Wazy, I think, which is
right.
perfect.
Yeah.
Which I think is like 18 degrees, sort of like nice and sunny, but not dying. Yeah, like you can totally do it. And I don't want to alarm you, but if you do 75 miles, you then qualify for all the Centurion running 100-mile events at that point.
There you go, mate. There's your target.
Well,
I don't want.
I'll backtrack a little bit, because what I will also say, that is 100% my target. That is, I've got it in my head. I know I can do it.
That's a great target,
right? But I will also be really happy with one more lap than last year. If that's what it breaks down to, if it turns out to be a hot day or I don't perform, something goes wrong, if I could get one more lap than last year, that's progress. I'll take it.
You're not going to have a great race every race, right? Like no. it's just not going to happen. I mean, you've had a pretty decent season already, but like, it's hard to say don't beat yourself up about it. I mean, because I do sometimes. It depends where it is. This Endure was a proper my AAA race of the season for me. Mm-hmm. Like, this was what I was building to. This was like a big life goal. Like, I knew what I wanted to get, and I got it. That was great. And I know I would have been heartbroken if I hadn't have done it. Like, I don't even want to think about it. But I think it was slightly different. Like, for example, my next Race of the Stones, I actually don't care about it in the slightest, really. Like, I just don't care about the time. I don't it's just a fun race. Like, there's no competing. Like, if I didn't finish, it'd be a bit annoying, but I don't really care that much. I've done what I wanted to do this season. And yeah, I think you need to be a bit easy on yourself, but also a bit hard on yourself at the same time. It's kind of both. Like, you can't beat yourself up too much, but also if you feel a bit bad, you know it's going to pass. It will. I promise you, it will pass.
Yeah.
And you got to think, because it will be crap at some point. And you've been there. I mean, Scott hasn't been there, but it's not like a marathon. You are going to hit a wall, but you're going to hit a mental wall more than a physical one, I think.
Yeah, exactly right.
And it's just, you just got to get through it.
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
I think it's the laps that make it hard. I think if you were going in a zigzaggy, wiggly, wavy route somewhere, from Birmingham to Liverpool or whatever it is, I think that's probably an easier thing to do than just keep going the same boring loop, because it becomes boring after a while. Every turn.
I mean, I feel like I've got a very strong mental mind, and I didn't get bored because I knew what to expect. So that kind of made me happy, because I knew what was coming up. I'll let you know what I prefer, because I have a 100-mile race in October, a standard 100-miler.
Yeah.
And it's the Autumn 100 by Centurion Running. And I had to, the other thing that would stress me out about Endure is that I needed to do the distance so I could qualify for that race. And you have to do 75 miles in under 24 hours to be able to qualify for it. So I obviously did the 100 miles so I qualified for it. But and that one goes in, it's weird, it goes in like a cross. It goes out, back into the town, out, back into the town, out, back into the town, out, back into the town. So it's like a weird cross situation. So I'll let you know how that sort of ends up. And then Race of the Stones obviously is just a big straight line down to Avebury. So it's I mean, I've done other ultras as well, that are big loops. I find them hard. I must admit, I find them harder because you can look at your Garmin and whatnot all the time, look at the elevation and stuff, but you don't really know what's coming up unless you've replied it. So whereas Endure, you always know what's coming up. You know where you're going to walk. You know where the aid station is. And also, if you do feel a bit bad, you don't have to worry about, is my wife going to have to scrape me off the side of the road? Like, you can just crawl back to your tent, can't you? So it's a really, really nice way of doing it. I think it's a really good first ultra. I think, Scott, you're going to do great, because there's no stress about getting lost and loads of other nonsense that ultras have.
That's right.
Yeah, getting lost, and am I going to get to the next aid station? Am I fall in a ditch and die and all kinds of
it takes all the thinking out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no brain work, which is great. It's just, you just think about your pace and just think about eating constantly.
Yeah,
all the time, always eating.
One of my favourite hobbies.
I've got sorry.
Oh, sorry,
Scott, say that again.
Just saying, it's one of my favourite hobbies, eating anyway, so I should be good at that. But it's a different week. Like, it's a weird feeling. Like Manchester, I was genuinely nervous for weeks. This one, I'm nervous, but I'm excited more than I am nervous, if that makes sense. Like I said earlier on, I'm just genuinely looking forward to the whole experience of getting there, getting the camp set up, and then having a bit of an explore and doing a bit of filming with you, Freddie. It's going to be a good laugh as well as painful, but in the best possible way.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm really looking forward to this time. Is I was never alone last time. If I wanted to talk to somebody, there was somebody to talk to all the time, because that's just the way it is. And actually, a few of the people I wouldn't say I kept in touch with regular, but occasionally we'll message each other on Instagram and things like. It's actually one of the guys, a guy called John. In my mind, I call him Scottish John. I don't know if he knows I call him that, but guy I met last year who happens to be Scottish, called John. Oh. He's from Scotland. He was coming down this weekend, but he messaged me today to let me know that he's actually had to pull out of it through I think it was through an injury. So unfortunately, he won't be there, which is a real shame. And I've lost my train of thought of what I was saying. There's always someone to talk to. But this time I'm going with people that I know. I mean, Scott, we know each other. We're going to camp next to each other and do as much together as we can. Plus, there's a few other people. We actually have a little WhatsApp group. I think there's 6 or 7 of us in there now.
It's getting bigger.
All people from Runners Connect on Strava that are doing this Leeds event. So we've all swapped phone numbers. So hopefully we'll get to meet up and do some running together. So I'm looking forward to that, having people there that we already know, we know who they are. And I think that's going to make it a bit more fun as well.
Yeah, if you want extra kudos, make a sign up and laminate it and put Solo on your back.
Already done it.
One step ahead.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You're already ahead. I mean, I didn't, but I probably should have done. There's some really cool people.
It really helps. It really helps at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and you're hanging out your backside, and someone comes and taps you on the back and says, "Keep going, Solo."
Go on, Solo. Yeah, go on, Solo. Yeah, I got it a few times because we had blue numbers for the solos this year.
Yeah,
it was just on the wall. So, and you get the go on, Solo. And don't worry, boys. Soon, this will be yours.
Yes, it will.
It is a really nice medal as well, actually.
Yeah.
It's a really nice medal.
That's good. Just a few days to go, Scott.
I'm genuinely excited about following you.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sticking on a Garmin link again, like I did last year. So you'll be able to see live as well in the Strava group. So we'll be doing that, and obviously the event themselves give out the tracking. That's how we saw what you were up to, Jamie. So they do every lap. They stick your time up, which is cool. It gets a bit worrying sometimes when there's a bit of a gap. When you look at your pace, and then all of a sudden there's a gap, but it's actually you're changing your socks or whatever else. So you've got to remember we don't get to see that bit. It's really cool to follow.
Yeah, it is. It is cool. Annoyingly, mine was like just before the finish line, so you'd stop at your tent and then you go across the finish line.
Right.
So that was kind of a bit annoying. I should have camped next to Nick, really, but all hindsight and all that.
Right, we've had, as you know, we had you on last time, and we get questions from the previous guest. We've had questions from Tom. He's actually sent 2, and I was only going to read one. But I think I might give you them both if you don't mind. They're nothing too taxing, so I wouldn't worry. But the first one is running related, and it's if you had a best friend or a family member that has never tried running and they wanted your help or to get started, what advice would you give them? Just the main sort of things you would give them.
So I have had people do this actually. So I have given advice. First of all, make sure you give them the advice they want. They want your advice first. It's not really cool just giving random advice like that, unless they want it. But let's assume they do. But I'd be like, first of all, don't compare yourself to others. That is a terrible, terrible thing to do. Comparison is the thief of joy massively, and you're going to get FOMO and all sorts of nonsense and Strava and all that stuff. You don't need. I'd actually don't use Strava. And don't go on there because it's not a good idea if you're new to it, because you'll see people like me just cracking out like 20k runs every day and make you feel bad, which is not. I'm a very different place in my journey than what you are to the other person. And secondly, just it's a bit of a cliche and it's a bit of a running circle jerk, but do slow down. You're going too fast. I guarantee you're going too fast.
Yeah.
Find out what your heart rate is, and actually figure the heart rate is quite important. And you'll find out if you're looking at a heart rate monitor and it says 170, that's too high, unless you're a hummingbird. Like you want it around. It depends. Obviously, it's very depends on age and fitness and all sorts that go into it, but you do want it low because you're only going to cause yourself injury and burnout, and you're just going to have a terrible time. I had people solos in endure that were next to me breathing like. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, it's way too hard. And it's slow down. Do not compare yourself to others. And it's your journey. Take it easy. You got all the time in the world. Sports not going anywhere.
Yep.
So that's probably my advice. That is my advice I've given out.
Yeah. And his second question is: if you lived in a world where everyone was paid the same, and you could pick any job to get up and do every day, what career would you choose and why?
Good question. Wouldn't be what I do now. I do enjoy my job, but it wouldn't be that. It would be something in the woods.
Yeah.
Like there is a job. There's a computer game actually called Firewatch where you're basically paid to watch for fires in woodlands and you go hiking and check for fires and stuff. That would be my kind of ideal. I love the woods. I love mountains and trails and stuff. That would be like absolute pipe dream job. It's
really funny that you said that because it was a question that I asked myself. I remember talking to my wife about this in 2004, so quite a while ago, and that's when I left the military to become a real person. And one of the things I said at the time was my dream job, and I still stand by this a bit now, was I don't even know what name for it is. It does have a name, but my dream job was to look after trees. I would love to have just gone and worked in a forestry and looked after trees. But the truth was it just didn't pay enough. That's why I never went down that route.
It doesn't. So fun fact about me, I was an arborist for 3 years.
Right. Wow.
So I actually did essentially do it. And I did work in woodlands as well. And the pay is terrible.
Right.
It is for what you have to do. It is terrible. It's not,
right.
but it is a great job. And you get to play with chainsaws, which is always fun. But and you get to climb trees, which is also quite fun. But the pay is awful for what you have to do, and you have to be very skilled. It's not as easy as people think it is.
No.
But I love that kind of stuff, trees and woodlands, and
And do you know what? While we've been talking there, I just looked at my Strava on last year's Endure 24. I just wanted to check out my heart rate and see what I did because I never really paid much attention to it. 35% in zone 1, 47.5% in zone 2, 16% in zone 3, and 1% in zone 4.
That's zone 4. I don't know if I ever got into zone 4. I'm not sure. That seems like a lot of zone 3.
16% in zone 3. Yeah, I think that was early on.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to really wind it back, and I mean, like you've done it, so you know.
And the fact it was 29 degrees that day.
Yeah, that really doesn't help. I do remember your video actually saying that, and I think you'll notice a massive difference this year with the temperatures. Because last year for Reading it was really hot as well. Because Nick was telling me he got to 100 miles and he honestly felt it took him the entire time. Right. It was really bad, and he's a really, really fit guy, and it was just really suffering. It was so hot. I'm just looking at mine now. Here we go. So zone 1, less than 120 beats, 14%. Moderate zone 2, 120 to 150. 17 hours in zone 2, 82.5%. Zone 3, 3.2%. Never went into zone 4. Well, it's 3 seconds in zone 4 and never went into zone 5.
Perfect.
So it went. I mean, it was paced. Certainly because my friend paced me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been different.
Scott, you never said your dream job if you didn't have to worry about what it paid you.
So my plan was when I left school, I always wanted to be an architect. Love architecture, wanted to be an architect, but I was never clever enough, I'll be honest. And the 7 years of uni put me off. But if it paid the same and you could walk into it and be qualified, then I would do that. But my dad actually was a tree surgeon. My dad worked in the woods, and the pay was good, but he loved it. So we've got garages full of chainsaws back at his house.
Right.
It's a small world, isn't it? The bloke I was running with as well. He was, because obviously I was a tree surgeon and the bloke I was running with, Ed, he is a tree surgeon. I was like, what is this? It's like such a weird small world. Like,
very niche.
It's a pretty niche job as well. Like, it's not like super. Everyone's a tree surgeon.
He loved it. He absolutely loved it. Yeah. I've got one for you, Freddie. Obviously, it's topical at the minute. The London Marathon ballot results came out today. I seen your post, but you want to talk about how it went and what your backup plan is?
Yeah, I think I'm like probably like the other 95% of people that applied for it. I got the big fat no, thank you, Freddie, not this year, which I'm all right with. It didn't bother me whatsoever because I was both lucky enough and foolish enough that I'd already booked Manchester Marathon. And I say foolish enough because the day that I booked it, I hadn't realised that it was actually on the same day as London Marathon.
Yeah.
Because that's unusual, right? It's not normally on the same day. But I'd already booked it. It's all paid for. So, yeah, I'm not going to London, but I am 100%, as long as I stay injury-free, going to be at Manchester. Yeah. So if you are going to be at Manchester, let me know and we can meet up and maybe see each other out on the course.
Yeah. Yeah. I must admit, scrolling Instagram today, I must have seen 30 posts saying no thank you. And I've seen one successful post today.
I've only seen one as well.
I've not seen one yet. I'm in a lot of running groups. I've not seen one.
I think her name's Anna Runs. I saw her on Instagram.
That's probably the same one I seen. Yeah. Everybody else, and I'm not kidding you, I must have seen 30 rejections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I've got not a single person in my whole running club has got in.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest club, but not a single person's got in, and none of my friends, my running group, which is it's got 30 or 40 people in there. Right. Not a single one of them got in either. So, and including myself, I didn't get in. It'd be interesting to see if my mate Nick gets in because he actually does have good for age. So he gets a different ballot. So he should get in.
Yeah, that's the point. Was Steve Cummins trying to get in? Did he mention he was in the ballot?
Do you know what? I don't know. I'd have to. I think he was going in for it. I think he said he's like 12 times or something. He's applied, isn't he?
Yeah, and I know he's got it. He's doing Chicago, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got to be close to good for age, Steve. I reckon he's got to be fairly close.
Yeah.
I think he's like really close because he's quite quick.
I'll have to send him a message and see how he got on.
Yeah, it's a bit of a.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a shame. Well,
right, guys. Well, I was just gonna say we're approaching an hour and a half now, and I've got to be honest. I'm starting to melt in this room. I need to open the door and open the window.
Join the club.
So if you don't mind, I think we can wrap it up here. Call that a podcast. But Jamie, it's been really good to see you again, mate, and I'm so happy for you to get your 105 miles.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. It's been terrifying talking to you today, Jamie, but at the same time, congratulations, and we'll see you.
Thank you so much.
On the other side of this.
Yeah. Well, you will be an ultra runner at the end of the week, Scott.
Yeah, 100%.
You're definitely going to do it. That man there is going to drag you round either way, I reckon.
He's going to need to
by your nostrils if I have to.
Yeah. So you're going to be an ultra runner no matter what happens. But I will be watching on the on Strava and on the site, and I would have loved to have come up, but next year. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Well, actually, Jamie, I'm looking to be down your neck of the woods in a few weeks' time. So if I am, I shall drop you a message a week or so beforehand once I know, and maybe we can meet up and go for a jog together.
Sure, cool. Sure. Yeah. Bring your trail shoes. I'll take you somewhere nice.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I'll let you know the plan, mate.
Yeah, awesome.
Right, guys. Nice one. Thanks very much, guys. And anyone listening, thank you very much, and we will see you on the next one. Take care. Oh, I can't find the end record button. There it is. Bye. Oh, I haven't hit it. There we go.